Hello. Hi.
Hello.
Wait, why does it look like this? Okay, never mind. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the live stream show. Q&A. It's not really a show. It's just kind of hanging out. But we're doing a live stream Sunday on a Monday. Was a little bit preoccupied yesterday. Let me alert the social media that I'm live. See if we can get some people in here. What's up, Trev? What's up, Queen Frostine? Nathaniel Perry, Eye Off Center. How you doing? What's going on with you guys? How was your Monday? It's currently... Oh, by the way, can everyone see and hear me decently? Let me know if there's any problems. Is it too loud, too soft, or is it just right? Is there a soy correlation between this and ContraPoint's recent live stream that I miss? Not really. The titles of my live streams are suggested by my patrons, and I just happened to pick one that mentioned soy. So it's maybe I was a little bit inspired to do that because of Contra's live stream, but 90% of the titles of my live streams are chosen by my patrons, and I just let them pick whatever they want. My hair is too loud. Well, I don't know if there's anything I can do about that. Got my coffee. Wait, let me rearrange this. What the hell? Oh, by the way, like apparently YouTube is different for some people now, where it says at the top where it says live chat, it might say top chat for you, and that's just sort of like a filtered chat where the YouTube algorithms supposedly filters out spam, but in my experience, YouTube's algorithm is really bad, so I would suggest doing live chat so you make sure you see everyone if you want to. By the way, I have I'm drinking out of the T1J mug, which you can get if you want. There's the T1J logo on that side, and then, okay, it's kind of hot. And then there's the face logo on the other side. So you can get that in the store if you want one. theonejanitor.com/store. No, I don't think you should purposely spam. I don't think that anybody would appreciate that. It's probably the same for the most part, but I haven't tested it. I just know that historically YouTube's spam filters are really bad. And I'm not sure if it's just spam or if it's they also filter out like inappropriate content. So maybe once someone comes in and starts being heated, then we'll see if it filters it out. I know last time I was streaming, someone was telling me that on my screen, all of the messages weren't coming up, and maybe it was because they implemented Top Chat before they like notified us. Knockoff soy latte mix powder. Okay. It's kind of hot in here, so I'm going to turn this fan on. I don't think the fan is going to make too much noise, though, but if it does, let me know. Because the fan is on the opposite side of the mic, and the mic doesn't receive much audio from the back. So let me know if it's just like super loud. What would you consider to be your top 5 favorite movies? That's really hard to do. Also, I kind of like am hesitant to talk about it because I haven't seen that many movies compared to the average person. But and then there's also I differentiate between my top 5 favorite and the top 5 that I think are the best. But like my top 5 favorite are probably like Kill Bill, Rush Hour, Addams Family Values, Hook. Those are just ones that bring me joy. I fully acknowledge that they're not the best movies, but I just love them more than other movies. I've seen Rush Hour at least 100 times, maybe more. Yeah, Addams Family Values is such a great movie. It's just, I could watch that over and over. Like if that was the only movie in existence, I would be okay with that. It's so good. The original Addams Family movie is good too, but Addams Family Values is just, it's just perfect. I've never seen Shanghai Noon or Shanghai Nights. I probably would like them though because I have a man crush on Jackie Chan. Why do you find trigger warnings icky? I don't know. This is kind of a interesting question because I think that different people mean different things when they use the term trigger warning. So I'm kind of hesitant to talk about it because a lot of times when I say something, people are like, well, that's not what a trigger warning is. So, but basically the thing that I have a problem with is people feeling entitled to being protected from things that might be distressing to them. And I don't think that anybody's entitled to that. I don't think trigger warnings specifically are bad. I just think feeling entitled to them is bad. All right, IL Center, thanks for coming to the stream, as always. So if you don't know, I stream every week, mostly, and I usually stream Sundays But I'm streaming on a Monday this time, which will happen every now and then. I would have streamed yesterday, but I kind of woke up a little bit later, and then I went to work out, and I would normally work out after the stream, but I work out with a friend, so I have to like coordinate with him. So I didn't really, I could have streamed later, like 5 p.m. or something, but I don't think that's a great time to stream because it like makes it so that people that don't live in the US, it's really inconvenient. Would you ever go for a huge beard like Amazing Atheist? Well, unfortunately, I'm unable to grow a beard that big. If I could, I probably would. Well, I wouldn't just like let it grow like, no grooming whatsoever. Because I don't like having a big, huge mustache. I think it's really annoying. But everywhere else, I'd be happy to let it grow. But it just doesn't grow. It doesn't grow all the way in. Like it doesn't grow up here that much. And I'm trying to figure out how to make it, because I've learned that, at least in my experience, most people, especially most girls, and I'm into girls, but they seem to like more facial hair than not these days. So I'm trying to figure out how to make my patchy puby beard look decent. My current theory is that if I just shave off the parts that don't grow in and just keep the parts that do grow in, then maybe it'll look decent. But that may also look stupid. I can't stand when my mustache starts to get in my mouth. Yeah, well, mine doesn't grow enough to get all the way in my mouth, but it does like go over my lip a little bit, which is annoying, and it like gets in my nose, that's the worst part for me, is when it starts getting in my nose. It's a wrap. I think that I should have put the face on the other side. I think I should have put the face. You think the face should be facing outward? I mean, I'm right-handed. If you're left-handed, you think the face should be facing outward so you can like show people, or is it cool for it to face yourself so you can look at my face while you're drinking your coffee or tea? H-Bomb really crushed it with the Soy Boy videos, and then we had the soy stream from Contra, and this one all happening right after Mexi got me convinced to lower the amount of meat in my diet. Love this title, by the way. Multiple options. I could do multiple options, but a lot of options is actually bad. This is just kind of like, I guess, sales theory, but actually like the less options people have, the more likely they are to actually make a choice. Yeah, I guess I'm just continuing the soy train, although it's whatever. My as I said before, my the titles of all my live streams are suggested by my patrons, and I just thought it would be pretty cute to put the soy one in this time. Left-handed and right-handed versions, interesting. I wish that I wanted to make a different color, but currently I'm selling them through Teespring. And the way it works is you can have a color, like they'll paint it but the handle will still be white. So I feel like that's tacky. I think limiting options is part of the reason why Aldi is a successful grocery chain. That's true. Thing about Aldi is there are fewer options, but generally the options that they have are decent. And I think that's, that's part of the equation too, because there's like discount food marts all over the place, but it's usually a bunch of crap. But Aldi has like actually decent stuff. Gwen No Fear. Yeah, I've been meaning to check out Gwen No Fear. I'm not sure what kind of videos they make, but Gwen is a smart person, so I just kind of imagine that the videos are probably good. You watching the Olympics? Not really. I just kind of catch it whenever it's on in a place that I'm at. I don't have TV at my apartment, but sometimes I like go over a friend's house and it'll be on, or I'll be in fucking McDonald's or something and it'll be on, and I'll see it. Do you have a gun? Nope. I've heard good things about the cheese selection at Aldi. Yeah, there's like a big section, at least the one near me, there's like a big they have like the main like deli and cheese section, and then there's another section with like more fancy cheeses and stuff. Curling's cool. I just like sports. I like competition of any kind, especially athletic competition. I just really respect it. And I kind of I like games, so I'm like really into the design of games and the mechanics of games. And I think curling is a good game. Some games aren't good, but they're still fun to watch. But I think curling's a good game. And it's sort of in my opinion, I guess. I guess it's a matter of opinion what makes a game good or interesting. And it's not necessarily if it's entertaining to watch, because like I think baseball is super super boring, but I think it's a good game. I think it's a well designed game. And for example, cricket is much more fun to watch than baseball, but I think it's a stupid game. But that's just the type of stuff that I geek out about. It's like competition and game theory and shit, and games. Not necessarily game theory. I've done a little bit of like studying in my free time on game theory, but I definitely can't hold a conversation about it. But that's something that I would like to get more into. But just sort of like the design of games and the mechanics of games. But I think American football is well designed. I do. I think it's the best sport out of all of them. Unfortunately, it's problematic because it like kills people, but on paper, it's like mechanically amazing. But yeah, I'm a fan of competition and athletics and stuff like that. So the Olympics are usually pretty cool to me, but I don't have TV at my house, so yeah, well, I mean, any physical sport is going to have some amount of danger and, you know, possibility of being harmed, but with American football, it is extremely disproportionate. Have I ever read The Color Purple? I've never read it. I have the book actually, but I've never read it. I've seen the movie though. Have I ever seen Ski Dancing? I don't think so. This is another thing too that's interesting to me, is the conversation about what makes a sport a sport. Like, what is a sport? Because I was watching figure skating, and I was like, is that a sport? And like other stuff like golf, like, is that a sport or is it just a game? Or like, you know, cheerleading or dancing. Or racing cars. And I don't think that there's a solid answer. I think it kind of depends on your subjective view of what makes a sport. Because some people think that like poker is a sport or chess is a sport. And I'm not on that team. It seems like I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh, it seems like any definition you come up for a sport, you can come up with an exception. Is American football more or less dangerous than boxing? They're pretty close. Boxing is probably more, but I guess football is more in the spotlight because it's more popular, at least in America. So it like affects more people. But I mean, in boxing, in football, they at least try to not, you know, get head trauma. I don't know how successful they are with that. But in boxing, that's like part of the object of the game, is to hit people in the head really hard. Electric Love Main, thank you for the 444. What have you deep fried, and what got you into it? Yeah, so I tweeted recently that I've kind of gotten addicted to deep frying stuff. And it's just because I just had these wings and I planned to deep fry them. And the thing about it, when you deep fry stuff, you have a lot of oil left. And so you could either just dispose of it or just use it until it's like unusable. So for the past couple days, I've just been deep frying stuff. So I deep fried some chicken wings, and then I deep fried some salmon, and then I deep fried some pork chops. And I'm thinking about deep frying some asparagus because I have some asparagus left. So stuff like that. When I had two rules for sports. I had to rely largely on the physical performance of the athletes, and winning had to be based on objective outcomes, not judged. So, is golf a sport under that definition? Because it's kind of physical performance, but it's also kind of not that much. How do I feel about MMA? I mean, I respect all sports and all athletes, and I kind of like the idea of just seeing who is really good at fighting and who's the best is at fighting. But again, it's another sport that people just get fucked up in, and it's probably not healthy for humans to do. What kind of oil am I using? Vegetable oil currently. Have I ever had bacon wrapped asparagus? No, but I'm sure that's amazing because I like asparagus and I like bacon. Yeah, see, those are the ones that are like in that mid ground, like bowling, like bar games, darts. Is beer pong a sport? Yeah, see, that's the thing too. Something could be a sport, but it could just be a bad sport. The rules. Okay, here's that. Do I have any advice for dealing with the feeling of failure? Um, I don't know. You have to learn to embrace failure because failure is how you learn that something doesn't work. Like if we succeeded at everything we did, we would never learn anything. So I think you have to get to a point where you sort of appreciate failure. That doesn't mean you should expect failure, but you should appreciate it when it happens because it's like, okay, I'm smarter now because this thing that I tried didn't work. So I know next time not to do that or to try something different. And I know that's easier said than done, but I think that should be sort of in the back of your mind. Cause, all you can do is just keep going. You keep living. So it's like either you can dwell on a failure or you can be like, well, let's try something else now. I mean, what else am I gonna do? Just look at my YouTube channel. I fail over and over again. I'm still figuring this thing out. But some things worked. And, sorry that the white balance keeps shifting. This camera's just been going haywire lately. I need a new webcam, I guess. Or maybe the actual... Because I'm sitting in front of the window and maybe the actual sun is moving, so it's just freaking out my camera. Or maybe I need to clean it or something. Why is everybody talking about soy? That's a good question. It's too damn cold today. It's actually hot here. Not hot, it's about 70 degrees. And it's actually pretty nice out. It looks like it's about to rain, but it hasn't started yet. There probably is beer pong competition. But I'm sure that if there is, that they don't actually drink beer. When I used to play beer pong with friends, we would just fill the cups with water because it's really unsanitary and really gross to just have everybody drinking out of the same cups. So we just filled them with water and we would drink our own beer. How do you think the stream with Contra, H Bomber Guy, Claudia Brown went? It was fine. It was great. It was really cool for me because I think that those people, like, it was Contra, H Bomber Guy, fucking, I forgot his name, Foldable Human, I can't remember his real name, Lindsay Ellis, and then Claudia Brown. But like the first four people, those are people that I feel like sort of mastered the genre of video that I'm trying to figure out how to do. Because I just sort of transitioned into this, because I used to be just kind of like a vlogger who just kind of talked about stuff randomly, but I sort of transitioned into a video essayist, and those guys like sort of established that genre, like them, and then arguably Sean. Those are like sort of the main figures in this genre, so it was really cool to hang out with them. I honestly do not know enough about the situation in Europe to really comment. And I've been saying this for a while, that I need to pay more attention to like foreign politics and foreign current events, but I'm still bad at it. Yeah, I did a stream with Contra in the past. Hopefully we can do stuff like that more, because you know we're all, none of us are like, we're not like just starting out, we're not like small, I mean, we're small YouTubers, but I think that sort of collaborating and bringing all of our communities together is going to be really good, and it's going to really help all of us grow. I enjoyed that you had a finished Rubik's Cube. Yep. It is currently unsolved. I've been playing with it, but I can solve it if you want. That's one thing that I know how to do. But yeah, it was like Claudia Brown is like she was like the smallest YouTuber of us all, and she was talking about how it was like she was like really happy to hang out with us. But that's kind of how I felt, because I feel like those people have sort of mastered this genre, and I'm trying to learn from them. What country would you choose if you had to move from the USA? I don't know. I've been asked that a lot, especially because I've been actually talking about, I probably plan to actually move from the USA, but I'm not really sure. I have to do more research. My main, this may sound very frivolous, but my main concern is I want to move somewhere that has good weather. And that may seem like kind of weird, but I feel like if you're gonna choose to move somewhere, why not move somewhere that has great weather? But I feel like places with good weather that are also decent places to live, I feel like that makes the list really short. I've been actually like reading a lot about Japan lately, and that may be just like too huge of a culture shock, although I'm sure I'd get used to it. But the culture of Japan just sounds like awesome to me. Like they're all about like being polite and kind, and they're like healthier, and they just like give a shit about each other. They're like anti-war. They're like, not too religious. Like it just seems like their culture sounds really cool to me. But then there's other aspects of that are just probably like just so foreign to me that it would take me a while to get used to it. I have not seen Black Panther yet. What's your opinion about Jordan Peterson? I get asked about Jordan Peterson every stream, and I don't know. It seems like he says a lot of ridiculous stuff. I'm sure he's really smart, and I'm sure that he is very educated on the things that he's an expert on. But I've seen a lot of quotes from him, just ideas, and that just don't make any sense to me. Like he's on this same train about like you know, the PC people and the feminists and all that nonsense. And he talks a lot about being Christian, and I'm definitely not into that. So it's like, it just seems like something that I'm not into. So I haven't really kept up. Yeah, I've also heard that Japan is very xenophobic. I don't know if it's like, but the thing is, like in America, it's like actual hate and mistrust. And I feel like in Japan, it's more like fear, which isn't good. I'm just saying it's different. Well, Tucker, see, the Jordan Peterson basically blew up after his whole debacle with the bill C-16 in Canada, and that was my first interaction with him, and that was entirely bullshit. So off the top, I was not really feeling him because he basically made this whole fuss about something that wasn't even true. And he still, I mean, I think he even still holds to it to this day, even though it's like he literally made up the whole thing. So it didn't look good on him, and it made me initially very hesitant to take him seriously on anything. Yeah, like stuff like that. Women who wear makeup and complain about sexual harassment are hypocrites. Like that's a ridiculous thing to say. And I don't understand how people take someone seriously who says stuff like that. Yeah, he does make a shit ton of money, but you know, whatever. People want to pay money to people. I'm not gonna be mad. It's, you know, whatever. I think that how Americans vote in the next few elections in the next couple of years will strongly determine whether or not I stay in this country. Because like a lot of it, you know, I get into this point where it's like, okay, I just don't identify with this country and its values and its people. But then it's like, well, you know, maybe not, maybe, you know, the people are just not as loud as everyone else. And we all know, like, when it comes to voting, Republicans have basically like stolen elections through things like gerrymandering and voter suppression and stuff like that. So maybe if people actually went out and vote, we could see who the true majority is in this country. But, you know, I don't know. Anti-SJW YouTube is the new right-wing talk radio. Pretty much. Yeah, I also need to keep up more with international politics. Am I a nerd fighter? Well, I'm a fan of the Vlogbrothers, if that's what you're asking. Sometimes I don't. Well, I mean, I was gonna say sometimes I don't particularly identify with their community. Um, but I mean, I'm down with them. I'm huge. Like they're my favorite YouTubers. Sometimes I think I should take a break from politics in general because it's so depressing. All right, Shadow Fox. Thanks for coming to the stream. But like if we keep voting in, you know, people who are anti-trans, anti-gay, anti-women, want to impose Christian laws upon the nation. If we keep voting people like that in, then it's just, I'm just over it. I'm like done with this country. Like, I can't deal with it. And maybe that's sort of a defeatist attitude, but like, I got to think about my well-being. And especially if I want to start a family, like I would feel like a huge douchebag bringing up a kid in this current country the way it is now. Like, especially as a black person, like it's almost, I feel like it's, I don't want to like, condemn other people, but to me, it feels almost immoral to bring a child into this world, into this country. It feels like you're signing them up for a hard time that they didn't ask for. Especially as a black person. Well, the thing is, I know that there are people that have good values and that want to try to make the world a better place, but I'm not sure if they're the majority. I really am not sure. Like, I don't think that people are bad. That's not what I mean. But I think that our priorities are just fucked, and I just don't identify with it. And, maybe they're right and I'm wrong. Maybe my worldview is wrong, but it's still my worldview. And I'd like to live somewhere that didn't make me sad all of the time. Because when they do polls, the majority usually, like, often the majority seems to be on the right track. Like, the majority of people want higher wages. The majority of people want universal health care, stuff like that. But it seems like we're so easily duped by politicians, and we just don't. We like vote against our own interests. I can't wait for Trump not to be president. Yeah. I think a lot of people agree with that. Things do get better with time. I'm not disagreeing with that. Like, in general, I'm an optimistic person. Things will get better, but I have to look out for my well-being now, Are they going to get better now? Probably not. Are they going to get better in the next 5 years? Unlikely. But they'll get better, for sure. Do you think Trump can win a second term? Yeah, you know what? I don't know. I don't know what Trump can do. I didn't think Trump could win a first term, so obviously my prediction skills are not very good. I would think no, but because he's like a very unpopular president among both the left and the right. But I don't know. And often people vote in a sort of reactionary way. Like they vote specifically to oppose what was in power before. But I think every president in my lifetime, or at least the last 3 presidents, all had 2 terms. So it's hard for me to even imagine a president that didn't do 2 terms. Do you think the U.S. has finally reached a turning point when it comes to the gun control debate? I don't think so. Doesn't seem like it. This is the problem in America. We can raise a fuss about so many things. We can raise awareness. We can talk about it on social media. But at the end of the day, nothing gets done unless those people in the White House and in Congress actually sit down and do something about it. And they just won't. They just literally won't. Because, or at least my speculation is because they're in the pockets of corporations and lobbyists, and the NRA has such huge control over gun laws and gun regulation that they're just not going to do anything about it. Exactly, Nathaniel. The only, like, this is something, like, I used to be one of those people that was really apathetic about voting, but that's literally the only way that we can fix this stuff is by voting different people in. That's pretty much, that's the power of the people. That's what we can do. And that's why I'm like, if we keep voting in these same types of people, then to me that indicates that I'm just not on the same page as other Americans. What state am I, or are you asking someone else? I'm in Alabama. Adam Kokesh. I don't know them. I don't know who that is actually. Third, I don't know about third party, because as mentioned, the third parties in America are just, they're very fringe. Like, I voted for Jill Stein in the presidential election, and a lot of people considered her a kook. But most of her positions, I definitely agreed more with her than all the other candidates. But her party, the Green Party, which I feel like she differs with on many issues, her party is like wacky. The Green Party is wacky. And then there's like the Libertarian Party, and I've said many times I think libertarianism is ridiculous. And I wonder if if I would feel different if I didn't live in Alabama. But you know, I don't know. It seems like a lot of people are very disgruntled right now. Do you think it's wrong to just ignore politics? I don't know. I'm not gonna blame anyone who wants to avoid things that make them sad. Like, I'm not gonna be mad at anyone for doing that. I feel like it's probably good to be informed about what's going on in the world. I think that's probably a good thing to do. But I'm not gonna be mad at anyone if they want to avoid something that doesn't make them happy. He wants to dismantle the federal government and leave everything to the states. That sounds like a horrible idea. I'm starting a colony in Antarctica. Are you down? Let's do it. Yeah, the electoral college has got to go, but the electoral college is just one thing. It, I mean, I guess it's a pretty big thing because it determines who becomes the president, and you know, the president is a big deal. But there's so many other things to look at and to vote for. Like right now, I feel like the electoral college is the least of our worries. Like let's get better representatives in. Let's get better judges and councilmen. Yeah, Antarctica sounds pretty cold. I didn't think about that. That's the only hesitation of moving to Canada. Like, I'm not trying to, like, I can't deal with the cold. It might not be that bad. I might be exaggerating how bad it is. Like, I'm sure it gets really cold, but it's probably not that bad. I'll just get a scarf. It's cold, but we have universal health care. You know what? That is a compelling argument. I feel like someone's gonna put that on a t-shirt. Canada, it's cold, but we have universal health care. Yeah, Australia seems a bit problematic. Australia seems like to be on a similar level to the United States. I don't follow it that closely, but seems like there's a lot of like bigotry, xenophobia going over there, and their government also seems to be just as dysfunctional as ours. That's another thing too. Like, I think what I call shit lordism, it seems to be spreading in Canada these days because of people like Jordan Peterson and all these other people on the internet that are like following the lead of America and being like super ridiculous about everything, even though like your country is like fucking right about most things. Yeah, Mexico. I don't know that much about Mexico. I think Americans have a very sort of um, maybe skewed view about Mexico. We just hear about like poverty and crime and shit, but it's probably not like that everywhere, you know? And we have that here too, so I think shitlordism is fairly fringe in Canada. Possibly. I mean, it's fringe here, to be honest, but, you know, they're just loud. That's why everybody says that the liberals control everything, because being a good person is mainstream. But we're still just so easily swayed by politicians. And there's just certain things, certain aspects of America that just seem to be very widespread that I just don't identify with. Like, it's hard to find people. Well, it's not hard to find, but there's still a lot of people that are like super pro gun, and there's still a lot of people that are like anti universal healthcare, and there's still a lot of people that are like super pro free market capitalism and stuff like that. Seriously, do you think will be possible to do some sort of terraforming in Antarctica and make it livable? I mean, I think we could do whatever we wanted if we really put our mind to it. Would I support scientists running for office like Neil deGrasse Tyson, or do you think it should be a job for politicians? I don't. I mean, it doesn't really matter to me what your profession is. It's just like, do you have good ideas? Scientists seemingly would have more fact-based ideas, which I back, but it seemed like it would be really hard for someone like that to actually win, because people don't give a shit about facts. It's all about what tugs your emotions and what makes you feel good inside, or what like makes you outraged and angry. Australia has too many spiders. There's a lot of crazy little creatures in Australia. Are you part of the Illuminati? I wish, dude. I was like, yo, I got like 80,000 subscribers. Don't I get my Illuminati invitation at some point? Maybe I gotta get 100,000 first. I would say a lot of scientists know loads about a very small area. That's not really the kind of thing that's useful in politics. I mean, yeah, practically, but there are a lot of people who don't know a lot of stuff that have been very successful in politics. So you need 666K. Have I received a Soros check yet? Oh yeah, I get those. I get those every month. My George Soros SJW stipend. That's the thing about being a politician, is you kind of have to pretend that you have all of the answers, even though it's like literally not possible for that to be the case. It's pretty like interesting if you think about it. Like, you know, they do these debates and they ask them, okay, how are you going to fix problem A? Now, how are you going to fix problem B? How are you going to fix problem C? How are you going to fix every problem that plagues our society? You and you alone, how are you going to do that? It's pretty unreasonable, but we expect them to have an answer to all of those questions. Scientists should definitely be consulted. But again, like, people don't care about facts. And that's honestly, that is one of the reasons why Republicans are so successful compared to Democrats, is they are very good at like latching onto people's emotions. Democrats are more likely to cite sources and facts and stuff and say, well, hey, all of these scientists say that climate change is real. I have like this 2-hour documentary you can watch. Here's like, 1,200 scientists. They wrote this paper. And then Republicans are like, hey, I brought a snowball in from outside. It's snowing. Obviously, there's no global warming. How come I got this snowball? Sorry if that was too loud. Will you debate Edgy Shitlord 635 about whether the sky is blue? I'm surprised we're not even at that level yet. By the way, in case you don't know, that's an actual thing that happened. A Republican congressman literally brought a snowball onto the floor of Congress as proof that global warming wasn't real. That's a real thing that happened. I think it was either Congress or Senate. But yeah, that happened. But that's just a really funny example of how Republicans work, how they're successful, because just something like that, it's just really easy to attach yourself to people's emotions with just simple displays like that. Leaving aside whether CNN or the New York Times are liberal or not, they do not function as propaganda arms of the Democratic Party the way Fox News does. Right. You could argue that MSNBC does, but definitely not CNN or the New York Times. Or like any of these things that considered liberal, like NPR or things like that. It's very clear that they don't. You think we should even have a president? I feel we'd be better off with a council of individuals from varying backgrounds and relevant professions that go through a vetting process. I mean, I'd be willing to try anything. I think it's probably a decent idea to have at least a country, a representative of the country that sort of speaks on behalf of the country, like in international relations. This sort of idea as like the man in charge may be a little bit problematic, but I don't know. I'd be willing to try it. I personally think hierarchies are fine. I like the idea of there being like someone who manages someone else. Like, I think that makes things run smoothly. But the idea of, like, for example, the idea that the president can fire the investigator that's investigating him, like, that probably shouldn't be a thing, right? I think liberal media is often just media that talks about facts and cares about minorities. It's not even that. Sometimes it's just, sometimes it's just literally, if you report something that's true that is negative about Republicans or about conservatives, you're all of a sudden the liberal media. Like when Don Lemon gets on CNN and says, hey, that thing that Trump said was racist. It's like, well, it was, but now CNN is the liberal media because they criticize Trump for saying something objectively racist. Do you think the idea only Americans can be president of the United States is a good or bad thing? I think it's arbitrary. I don't think it needs to be a rule. Probably someone, I mean, it should definitely be someone who has lived in America for a long time and has like participated in American society and culture and contributed. But it doesn't need to be someone that's like natural born citizen. Like, that's just arbitrary. Maybe we should divide parliaments. 50% would be choose in democratic elections and 20% be a scientist, 10% lawyers. I don't know. Like I said, I'm willing to try anything. We kind of have that sort of mixture of elected officials and appointed officials. But the thing is, it doesn't ever seem to be based on merit. It's just based on like favors and money and stuff like that. I don't see, I've made a video about this, but I don't think that bias is the problem. I think that access to multiple streams of information is important, and I think that saying stuff that is true is important. And this is the problem. And this is why I don't think MSNBC is the equivalent of Fox, because by and large, MSNBC doesn't report things that aren't true. MSNBC very clearly is biased. Like there's no question. But they don't report actual non-truths, while Fox does that all the time. So, and I'm not saying MSNBC is perfect, but I'm saying if you watch MSNBC in conjunction with other sources that provide other contexts or other points of view, I think that that's still useful. But if you're watching Fox all day long, I feel like that's actively harming you and misinforming you. Like my channel has a bias for sure, because I'm me, I'm a person. And I don't think you should use my channel as your only source of opinions on things, because I'm just one person. You should add it onto other things. But I also try very hard not to say things that are just wrong, that are just false. You can report only truths and still be very misleading. Kinda. Because I feel like if you're misleading people, then you're not really telling the truth. But you can be misleading by omission for sure, and that's basically what bias is. But that's why you need to have more than one source. Do I like Rachel Maddow? Yes, she's fine. Yeah, I think that is a problem. People sort of pick their one source. But this is my opinion. I think that's just not the way to go. You have to read a lot of different things. Like whenever I'm like trying to do research about something or trying to figure out something, I always read multiple articles. And you almost always find something in each article that's unique, that's not in the other ones. So I try to read a lot of stuff. Even if it's just like one sentence that adds a little bit of context, like it's really important to do stuff like that. Like a good example is recently, they had the school shooting with this guy, and there was a headline that was like, the NRA paid to teach this kid how to use guns or something. And that's a headline designed to cause outrage. And so like one site was just sort of making it like the NRA is like teaching these kids how to shoot guns. But then you read another article and it's like, oh, the NRA just like donated some money to an ROTC program that this kid happened to be in, which is like, I fuck the NRA, but I don't have a problem with ROTC marksmanship programs. Like that's fine. And this kid just happened to be in it. Okay, what are you gonna do? But so stuff like that, like both of those things are technically true, but you have to read both to get the full picture. So I guess I don't disagree with what you said about being misleading. But I guess the thing is, you don't. There's being misleading, there's omitting things, and then there's being like intentionally misleading people, which I guess you could say happens a lot. But sometimes I think people get accused of that when that's not what they're doing. Do I get bored of talking about certain topics? I don't know if I get bored of it. There's some topics that become too frustrating for me to talk about that I just kind of stop doing it. The wage gap is a very good example of that. Like I just refuse to talk about it like on a big scale anymore, and I refuse to like debate people about it because no one listens. Is it true mental ill people can have a gun in America? In many states, yes. Not every state, though. Do you have an opinion on this channel, Secular Talk? I don't watch Secular Talk that much. From what I understand, Secular Talk is sometimes on the the regressive left SJW shit, which I'm just like over at this point. But I think overall, a lot of those channels, I feel like sometimes they do more harm than good because they're just kind of trying to emulate what the right wing does, where they just make sort of these videos that are like, hey man, look at this thing. Aren't they stupid? You should be outraged. Like, and I'm kind of like not into that these days. The thing that yeah, well, clearly it's more than just mental illness. I'm sure that mental illness is a factor, but it's very clear that it's not mental illness because there are lots of people with mental illness who don't shoot up schools. But it seems to be the case that a disproportionate number of the people who do these things do have mental illness or show signs of mental illness or have shown signs of mental illness. So it's definitely a factor. And another thing that I saw recently, which was very compelling, it was just sort of like a little meme, but it was interesting because people want to blame it on mental illness. And the thing is, both men and women there are both men and women who are mentally ill. However, the vast majority of mass shootings are done by men. So clearly it's not just mental illness. There's other things at play here. There's culture, there's pressure, societal pressure, there's just the whole toxic culture in masculinity. Like there's a lot of stuff going on here. It's not just mental illness. Why do men do so many mass shootings? Well, I don't think that I can answer that question thoroughly, but I think men are just socialized to solve problems with aggression, and then the people who are especially deranged just take it over the top into actual lethal violence. The gun debate is another one that I'm getting to the point where it's becoming too frustrating to talk about because it's an emotionally loaded conversation. It's a conversation that people could just completely ignore facts and data and statistics about. It's just every argument is based on emotional appeals, and those just don't go anywhere. Do you think a gun ban could ever be successfully implemented in America? It could. I don't think that's going to happen, though. Electric Lomain, thank you for 444. I'm out, T1J. Appreciate you, good sir. Thanks for coming to the stream. As always, thanks for the super chats. The problem is, again, the NRA has a tight grip on our Congress, and our Congress votes according to the lobbyist that pays them. They just do it. They always do. And the NRA spends millions, tens of millions of dollars, if not hundreds of millions of dollars, lobbying Congress to prevent them from doing anything to restrict guns. So they are never going to vote for a gun ban. And also, the actual citizens in America like guns, so they'll be really upset about that. Is there a news YouTube channel that you recommend? News. I don't know. I've been sort of into David Pakman. I don't think the Young Turks are bad. A lot of people hate the Young Turks, but I think they're fine. And then there's always Philip DeFranco. You just have to take into account that a lot of the news that he covers is like not like world news. It's sort of like stuff that he personally thinks is interesting. And also he's like super centrist, which is annoying sometimes, but it works for his content. Majority Report is okay. I think Majority Report is sort of on that same level what I was talking about with Secular Talk, where it's like, hey, let's ridicule these guys and let's get these people riled up and just angry and just make them think that we're so much smarter than everyone else. And even Pac-Man is sometimes on that level, but I think Pac-Man is a little bit better than those two about that. Does AJ Plus have a YouTube channel? I know that they have a Facebook page, which is good, and they have Newsbroke, which is a comedy news channel, which I recommend. But it's a comedy news. There are some gun laws out there that aren't research-based and are just there so politicians can say they're doing something. Well, sometimes making the law is the research. And then we see what works and what doesn't work. And we want politicians to do something. I would rather politicians do something than nothing, which is what they tend to do. Or is at least what ends up happening because of the active blockage of the Republicans to any kind of gun reform. AJ Plus is owned by Al Jazeera, which is owned by, what country is it? I forgot. Not Saudi Arabia. It's a different one, but it's a like a Muslim country. Yeah, Qatar. But AJ Plus makes good stuff. Qatar is a pretty regressive government, but you know, you take what you can get. It seems like they are pretty hands off when it comes to the American version of Al Jazeera and AJ Plus. So we'll take it. But yeah, watch Newsbroke if you don't already. It's really good. It's really funny. I've always said it's a criminally under-subscribed channel. And I collaborated with them once. Still can't believe that FIFA is going to stick with Qatar for a World Cup host. Are they? I didn't know that. Isn't FIFA like a evil organization or some shit? Only reason I say that is because I think that John Oliver did a bit about FIFA. And I didn't know all this stuff. The comedy channel is called Newsbroke. News, N-E-W-S, broke. B-R-O-K-E. It's just like, I guess you could call them video essays. It's similar. It's a similar to the political essayists that are on YouTube, but it's like a show. It's more like a show. Like it's similar to like Samantha Bee or something like that. And there's also they also do like sketches and stuff every now and then. Women's chess championship is in Saudi Arabia. Interesting. Americans don't like soccer much. It's not that popular here. It's we like soccer when the American team is doing well. Like when the American team is in the World Cup, we're super into it. We're super like go USA. Like everybody talks about it. But America did not qualify for the World Cup this time, which I think is the first time that happened in a long time. So and I'm sure nobody's gonna watch the World Cup now. The women's team is really good though. Do you ever think you'll be an old conservative yelling about the kids these days? I don't think I'll ever be an old conservative, but I'm sure that younger people are already more liberal than I am and more left than I am. I guess liberal is not the right word. So it's kind of already happening, but I don't think I'll ever be a straight conservative, because I think being a conservative is weird. This sort of like anti-progress mentality, like it's just, I don't know about that. But it's already happening. Like all of these fucking teenagers on the internet, like they're all fucking socialists and anarchists and shit. I don't get that. Nakamura, one of the best USA players, refused to participate in tournaments hosted by Saudi Arabia. Word? I didn't know that. How do you think we solve the problems in capitalism? With government regulation. Basically, that's how you solve most of the problems. Is, hey, that shitty thing that you want to do, you can't do it because it's illegal. But some of the things that people consider problems, I don't consider problems. For example, income inequality is not necessarily a problem as long as there's no poverty. Some people think that just the entire concept of people being richer than other people is a problem, but I don't think it's necessarily a problem. As long as we find a way to eliminate poverty, which I think you do by either some kind of basic income or just increasing social programs. Any thoughts on Chapo Trap House? I keep meaning to check it out, but I haven't yet. Yeah, I'm not that. I guess I don't know that much of the difference between American and European conservatism. Yeah, Eternal Pessimist. I think that conservatism is inherently flawed, but I don't want to say that if you are a conservative that means you're a bad person or you're stupid or something. That's where I hesitate. But to me, it's similar. Like I think that I also think religion is dumb. But you know, like my best friend is a Christian, so I'm not. Doesn't mean just because you believe something that I think is flawed doesn't mean I think that you're dumb or you're stupid. It's just I don't like the ideas. But I would not say that there, there's nothing wrong with conservative ideas, because I think there is something wrong with them. I eat soy yogurt now. I actually don't eat. I've been thinking about getting soy milk though, because I don't like regular milk, and I started drinking almond milk because to me it tastes better than regular milk. But almond milk has like no protein in it, and I've been, I'm like I've been like working out recently, so I'm trying to get more protein. So I'm gonna try soy milk and see if it's better than regular milk. Do you think the minimum wage should be higher? Yes. Either that or people should have a basic income. I don't think that anyone, I don't think any adult should have a job that doesn't pay a living wage. Am I going to turn into a soy boy? We'll see. I actually don't eat any soy currently though. But I don't have anything against it. I just don't really have any reason to. How do you respond to people saying that Nazis were on the left because they were socialists? It's hard for me to imagine that people who say that are being serious. That's like such a silly thing to say. Like it sounds like you're making a joke when you say something like that. What do you think about companies that hire disabled people for below minimum wage? Does that happen? That's terrible. That's like illegal, isn't it? If wages become higher, small businesses will have a huge disadvantage and will be forced to fire people, make the remaining work harder. Okay, I don't care. If you can't afford to pay your employees a living wage, then you should not have a business. If you like, it's just going to require an entire restructuring of how we think about businesses and how businesses are supposed to be run. Like we can't keep doing things the same way is what I'm saying. Everything is going to have to be radically transformed. Goodwill hires disabled people for pennies. I didn't know that. It seems pretty immoral to me, but I'd have to look into the context. My pro universal basic income. I think it's worth a try. Um, it's hard for me to say I'm pro it because I've never seen it in practice. But the main thing that I'm interested in is eliminating poverty, and that seems like a good way to do it. But you can't. I don't think you could just throw in a universal basic income, and then that's it. You'll have to do a lot of government regulation on top of that to prevent corporations and companies from screwing everybody over. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's just hard for me to accept people employing, like people working and not being fairly compensated for it. Yeah, I don't. I mean, I'm not. I don't really. I'm not. I don't have a problem with rich people getting the UBI as long as everybody else gets it. And maybe we can have programs where rich people can, you know, invest that UBI or put it back into the system if they choose to, or stuff like that. Have I become numb to Trump being a dipshit? Not at all. It's a daily frustration for me. You don't necessarily need a UBI. You can just fucking pay people more. And again, that will have to come with a lot of regulation, and it's going to make rich people less rich, but they can still be rich. Just not as rich. It's just basically we have to get into the point where we care about people more than we care about company profits. And I'm not saying that's going to happen anytime soon, but that's the society I envision, that I imagine. A company that's like, okay, we're going to pay our CEO $5 million instead of $20 million so that we can pay the rest of our workers $20 an hour. Stuff like that. I mean, that's a simplistic example, but things like that. They probably don't even need $5 million. Yeah, it's hard for me to the idea of just someone actually working, actually providing labor for a company and actually contributing to the success of a company. And I guess Goodwill is a not-for-profit, I imagine. So maybe it's different. But it's hard for me for that to sit well with me. If someone's like actually working and being paid like pennies, like that's terrible. Like I don't have a problem. Like if you have a business that's super profitable, and especially if you are part of the reason why it's profitable as like the CEO or whatever, I don't have a problem with you making a lot of money. Like that's fine with me. Like if you're working hard or if you have really good ideas and it results in value, then I feel like that's fine if you get paid. But not at the expense of the people that literally keep the place open, you know? Like it is absolutely silly to me that executives at McDonald's literally make like $10-20 million a year, while the fry cooks make like $7, $8, $9 an hour. Like that's absurd to me. Like I can't even wrap my head around how that's a thing. Goodwill is a for-profit entity. That's terrible. That makes it worse. I was thinking like if they're a nonprofit, then maybe it's a little bit different because the point is not for them to make money. But I'm gonna read about that. Maybe I'll do a video about that after doing some research because I didn't even know that. Goodwill, more like bad will. Am I right? What's wrong What's wrong with a for-profit entity? I don't think there's anything wrong with for-profit. But if you're for-profit and part of how you make that profit is by screwing over your workers, that's a problem. And it sounds like Goodwill's doing that in a big way. And most other corporations, to be honest. Basically, I envision. See, I don't mind for profit. I don't mind rich people. I don't mind merit-based success. But what I do mind is when we put the needs of corporations and the profits of corporations over the needs of workers and customers and consumers. Also, Wikipedia says it is a nonprofit. Yeah, I'm sure that nonprofits aren't perfect. But I don't know, I'll do some research about that. I'm gonna make a note of that because that's interesting to me. I'm gonna stream for about 30 more minutes, guys. Time really flies when there's a lively conversation. What do you think will win Best Picture at the Oscars? I have no idea. The problem is that being rich automatically gives you a lot of power. That is correct. And to be honest, that is to me the biggest problem with capitalism. And the problem that will probably be the hardest to solve is just the disproportionate amount of power that rich people will have just over everything, particularly over politics. But again, I think that you can curb a lot of that simply with regulation and laws, and simply by enforcing the laws. And also in sort of the world that I'm thinking about, there's probably not going to be too many billionaires because it's just not possible for there to be that much money in the hands of one person. If you're paying everybody like $20 an hour, it just doesn't seem possible. So the limited amount of money being thrown around may curb that a lot, but I don't know. That is currently in the way I think about it now. That's my biggest issue. That's my biggest roadblock. But, you know, even if you make lobbying illegal or you make bribing politicians illegal, people are still going to do it in private. You know, they're still going to have private dinners and they're going to find loopholes, and that's going to be an issue. But like I said, people may just literally not have enough money to do it at a large enough scale. Al Franken Russian bots thing. I didn't catch that one. I did not see last night. Because I think part of the reason that we perceive rich people as being so powerful is because the way our society works is they just accumulate power, and their power increases like exponentially as time goes on. And I don't think it necessarily has to be like that. You know, it's not like you just become a millionaire and then all of a sudden you can control politics. Like, it's like these people that have their power just becomes consolidated, and they just get more and more rich and more powerful as time goes on. What is your favorite alcohol? It's hard for me to answer that question because I'm poor and I don't get to really taste decent alcohol most of the time. What when I go to bars, what I usually drink is whiskey, and I just drink whatever they have. I like Crown Royale a lot, or Crown Royal, not Crown Royale. Um, and I like beer. Any collaborations coming up? Not specifically, but I'm open to collaborations if people want to do them. Do you reckon you and Destiny could ever do a stream together? I mean, I'd be happy to, but Destiny doesn't really like to chat with people that he agrees with on stuff. So it seems unlikely. I'm uncomfortable how powerful Disney is getting. Yeah. Disney is like kind of a shitty company historically. They've done a bunch of shitty stuff. But, you know, they made The Lion King, so what are you going to do? I'm poor. Yeah, I'm pretty poor. You and H Bomber Guy should stream together. I'm down. I'm a big fan of H Bomber Guy. I was on a stream with H Bomber Guy a couple days ago. It was sort of an ensemble cast of leftist YouTubers. I don't know anything about Eugenia Cooney. I've heard that name a bunch, but I don't know a single thing about that person. Would you vote for Oprah? I don't know if she had good ideas. We'll see. Well, I guess she's not going to run probably, but... Yeah, the Contra stream. Blue-haired white feminist. That was the best part of the whole stream. That was hilarious. I actually got a bunch of subscribers from that stream. I need to like collaborate with these people more, because every time I do, I get a whole bunch of new subscribers. And like I was saying before, like a while back, maybe before a lot of you got here, but I think that's going to be a good way for sort of this community to grow, is just by sort of collaborating and sharing communities and sharing ideas with each other and stuff. Because I feel like a lot of us are sort of isolated from the rest of the community, and I think it would be a good thing to sort of collaborate more and stream together more and stuff like that. Do I have favorite quotes? Yeah, I can't think of one off the top of my head though. I don't have like favorite quotes. I just hear good quotes a lot. The first one that came in my head is a Van Jones quote where he says that fatigue isn't a strategy. Fatigue isn't a strategy. I can't remember the word for word quote, but basically he's saying, he said, it's not fair that the oppressed has to lead their oppressors to their freedom, or to their, I can't remember if freedom is the right word, but it's not fair that the oppressed has to lead the oppressors to justice, but it's the only way that it's the only way it's ever happened. And, you know, it's understandable that we get fatigued and we get frustrated, but you don't win. Fatigue isn't a strategy. I remember that part. Fatigue isn't a strategy. You have to wipe yourself off and go back out there. So that's just the first quote that popped in my head. I know I butchered it, but that was the idea of it. I have not seen Black Panther yet. I'm not sure when I'll get to see it, but maybe soon. Would you rather lose an arm or a leg? Probably an arm. I like walking. I'm a big fan of it. I guess you could get a prosthetic. What music am I listening to at the moment? I think once you get to a certain age, you kind of stop keeping up with new music, and you just keep listening to the stuff that you already like, and that's where I'm at. Every now and then there's something new that I like, but I generally just listen to the stuff that I used to like, you know, when I was younger. So I listened to like early 2000s hip hop and like Queen and shit and Nirvana. Like the most recent thing that I like a lot, I don't even know. I like Lord. That's not even that recent though. Yeah, if I lost a leg right now though, I would probably be really bad at trying to do anything. I guess I could train myself over time. Have you noticed anti-SJWs do everything they complain about SJWs doing? A good bit of them do, for sure. That's one of the reasons why I like stop really taking them seriously. Logic is pretty good, yeah. I'm not that familiar. I like Earl Sweatshirt a lot, but I don't know if he's released anything recently. I liked Jay-Z's last album. I thought it was really good. I like Kendrick Lamar. That's probably a recent one that I'm really into. I'm trying to think of something that's not hip hop that's recent that I like. I can't even think of anything though. I've never seen Get Out, but in my experience, even if a movie is spoiled for you, it's probably still enjoyable if it's good. Yeah, Lord is amazing. Lord's like one of my favorites. I liked Paramore's last album. I need to start going to the dollar theater. There's like a movie theater here where the movies are $1. I think probably a lot of towns have it, but it'll show movies that just got out of the main theater, so you can see movies a little bit late, but they're just $1. And I want to just start going there like every weekend, just seeing movies, so I can be a little late, but at least I can say I saw the movies. We're gonna check out Kendrick Lamar's Black Panther soundtrack. I didn't know that was a thing, but sure. Favorite Queen songs? All of them? My favorite Queen song. Well, technically, my favorite Queen song is Bohemian Rhapsody, but that's a song that I've heard so many times that I'm pretty much sick of it, and I probably am okay if I never hear it again. But I think it's like probably objectively the best one. But I really like Killer Queen, Somebody to Love, Don't Stop Me Now. All great songs. What do I like about Lord? I just really like that sound. It's hard for me to describe. I describe the type of music that I really get into as music that's like kind of weird, but also like accessible. Like sometimes music is too weird and I just can't get into it. But if it's like kind of weird, but also has a, you know, mainstream accessible appeal, that's usually like my favorite type of music. So I think Kendrick Lamar is a good example of that. Like his music is kind of weird. It's not that weird. And it's very accessible. Like my favorite rap group of all time is Outkast, and that perfectly describes Outkast. They're like kind of weird, but not that weird. And that's what I described Lord like that. Like it's kind of weird. It has like this very like moody, like almost indie style, and it has like this weird instrumentation sometimes. It's like airy sound. But at the end of the day, you know, it's just like similar to a lot of other indie female vocalists. And she's just really good at melodies. Like the melodies are really catchy to me, and I just like it. I don't know. Yeah, Radiohead is a great example. It's kind of weird, but it's not too weird. Yeah, I don't know. Like back in the day, like when I was in high school, I would listen to, maybe like college, I would listen to Bohemian Rhapsody like over and over and over again. I've heard it way too many times. Yeah, see, I love Muse. I love Radiohead. Those are all good examples of what I'm talking about. Um, I have not listened to the Hamilton soundtrack. It seems like it's cool though. I've seen like one or two performances, but I never listened to the whole thing. And then that applies to certain songs as well. Like sometimes an artist themselves isn't that weird, but they have some songs that are kind of weird. Like one of my favorite songs is Not About Love by Fiona Apple. And that's that song, it's like it's kind of weird, but it's not that weird. It's also just a really beautifully written song with really good melodies and stuff. Like melodies are really important to me. Like if something just has like a dope ass melody, like I'm into it. If I was rich, what would be the first thing I'd do? If I like suddenly got rich, the first thing I would do would definitely be to clear all my debts, of which there are many. And then probably I would probably clear the debts of my closest family members. And then I would put like a lot of money in a interest bearing account of some kind. And then after that, I would probably literally just go hard and ball out of control and just party up. You almost missed me. Well, I'm about to leave soon actually, Warp Scanner, so you're catching the tail end. But it's good that I haven't gotten rich yet, because I'd probably be dead. Because, like I say that I would party, but I probably wouldn't party that hard. But if it was like 5 years ago or 8 years ago, I definitely would have partied really hard and probably would have fucking killed myself. The documentary Unrest on Netflix. I've never heard of it. Seems like there's a lot of good stuff on Netflix these days. What's your favorite Beatles album? I don't know. I can't even remember what songs are on which album. All right, Mad Scientist. Thanks for checking out the stream as always. How do you decide how long your stream should be? Well, generally I'd go for 2 hours. If the chat is a little lively, then I'll go for 2.5 hours or 3 hours, but somewhere between 2 and 3 hours. Would you ever do a stream with music, or do you always use your current stream method? I don't know. I don't necessarily prefer there to be music. Also, you have to be really careful about using copyrighted music in your streams. I'm not sure if they've changed that policy, but I've literally in the past, like years ago, they'll literally like shut the stream down. Like it'll cut off while you're streaming if they detect that you're using a copyrighted songs. But I know that some other people have done it, so maybe they've changed how it works. Favorite Beatles songs? Come Together, I'm the Walrus. I like John Lennon songs. Well, I like some Paul McCartney songs too. Like I really like Eleanor Rigby. While My Guitar Gently Weeps. Have I ever listened to The Platters? I have not. Because Lennon is kind of weird, but still accessible. Probably. I think that probably is why. That's kind of why I like the Beatles. Because their songs are kind of weird sometimes. But still accessible. Regina Spektor is another example of someone who's kind of weird, but not that weird. So like an example of someone who's too weird is like Bjork. Bjork's too weird. Actually, Bjork isn't even that weird compared to some other stuff. And a lot of these people that we're mentioning basically just copied Bjork. Like for some reason, there's this whole generation of female vocalists who decided that they're gonna sing like Bjork. I'm not really sure why that happened. Modest Mouse is pretty good. I didn't get into Modest Mouse as much as some of my friends. Kamasi Washington. I don't know who that is actually. Yeah, Grimes. I like Grimes. But then there's a level. I think Grimes is like on this line where it's like it technically qualifies as weird but accessible, but it's like it's not even that accessible. Like it's not that weird, but it's also not that accessible. If you can kind of understand what I mean. A lot of this stuff, I kind of call it pothead music. It's like this music that's like, yeah, I see what you're doing. I see it's kind of moody, but it's also like it's not that catchy, and you know, it's not my thing. Kamasi Washington did sax on "To Pimp a Butterfly" and has a jazz album. Okay, cool. I know a girl that don't like any music. That I don't know. I don't trust that person. I don't follow music that well, and I don't keep up with music. And I guess I'm not picky about music, but I don't know about people that just don't like music. Like, what's wrong with you? I think my preferences are more expanded when it comes to hip hop. I like a lot of hip hop just because sort of I grew up with hip hop, and I sort of analyze hip hop on a different level than I do other genres. Like I'm kind of like a student of hip hop, so I kind of analyze it on a scholarly level. So I appreciate hip hop that doesn't technically meet my criteria, but the ones that do is still usually my favorite. That's why I was into a lot of sort of underground stuff and not that much mainstream stuff. Although I do like some mainstream stuff. It's just hard for me to imagine a person that's not into music. It's like maybe they just don't listen to it and they just haven't found something. But I don't know. I can't judge other people's dispositions. Everyone's different. I've heard of Cage. I don't know who Motion Man is. I feel like I've heard of Apathy, but I'm not sure. I think I've heard of Apathy. Tame Impala, I haven't heard enough of that. But I'm gonna about 5 to 10 more minutes left in the stream, guys. So like one final question if you have one. Thank you as always to checking out the stream. We should be back on Sunday like normal. Check out the T1J mug, the onejanitor.com/store. It's got my face on it. Also, I'm announcing that I'm selling these wristbands. That's just Mito wristbands. Actually, the purpose of me selling these is I need to raise money to buy a new computer because my computer is like, I feel like it's like weeks from just exploding on me. But you can get these at theonejanitor.com/wristband. They're $5. I'm gonna announce it on my video. Actually, that's another thing I meant to do. I'm gonna release my video like as soon as this stream is over, or maybe I'll do it like as I'm ending it, so you guys can go watch the next video after this is over. So yeah, that's a thing. It's kind of a different sort of video than normal. It's like it's not about politics or anything. It's just kind of an idea that's been in my head, but I don't know. I hope you like it. 21 Pilots. I don't know a lot about 21 Pilots. What would be the weirdest music I like? It's hard for me to say because most of the stuff I like isn't that weird, because that's what I like about it, is that it's kind of weird but not that weird. Um, I don't know. I'm trying to think of some weird songs that I. Like, I have a Spotify playlist that's literally called Weird Rock Songs, but none of the songs are that weird. It's stuff like Lord and Muse. Let me check this out real quick. Have I watched Devilman Crybaby? Nope. 21 Pilots is definitely weird but accessible. Well, I'll need to check more of that out then. I'm looking at my playlist called Weird Rock Songs, and there's Come On Eileen is in the list. I forgot about that. I love that song. And I guess it's kind of weird, but it's not that weird. I have the Smashing Pumpkins on here. You know, they're kind of weird. I don't know. I don't listen to anything that's weird. That's that weird. Like, because that's the whole thing. It's like it's just kind of off kilter, just a little bit. I think most 80s songs are in the weird but accessible category. Yeah, and I actually really like 80s music, and that's probably why. I wonder if it in the 80s if it sounded weird or if it just sounded normal. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and go, guys. Thank you for coming to the stream. Follow me on social media if you don't already. At the One Janitor on everything. If you would like to support me in a long-term way, if you like the streams and you want to help it be more sustainable, consider becoming a patron. Patreon.com/theonejanitor. I'm going to make my newest video public like right now, so if you guys want to check that out, that would be cool. Let's do it right now. Hopefully it's ready. I think I did everything I need to do. It's kind of like a sappy video and it's like a positive video. Hopefully you guys aren't too cynical for stuff like that. Some people get a little annoyed when people are too positive. But let me know what you think if you'd like to. How do I save this? And like I said, we should be back on Sunday. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.